Welcome to Unbiased and On the Fence. I'm Shane. Thank you guys so much for joining for the Power of 8 at 8. We want to welcome, of course, there she is, Eileen. How are you, Eileen? And Paulo's joining us. Paulo's joining us tonight as well. What's up, Paulo? Oh, hold on. Sorry. You can say hi again, Eileen. Sorry, I totally missed the mute button on that one.
That's okay. I don't mind. I was waving. I didn't have to speak.
And Paulo, all the way from Australia. How are you, my friend?
Hey guys, greetings.
All right, so gosh, a lot going down on the down under down there, and we're going to actually cover that towards the end of this. We're going to do a healing meditation this week because of all of what's going on in New Zealand. We want to thank Jenny, who lives in New Zealand, for recommending that we do this healing meditation. It's a general healing meditation, but we will focus. At least for our live audience or those who's watching it right now while this is all current, to focus it towards New Zealand, because there's a lot of healing that they need down in that area, and a lot of anger, probably just a whole batch of mixed emotions right now. And so yeah, we'll definitely handle that this week.
But we learned from Lynn McTaggart, and then we learned from Cynthia Sue Larson that when we do the general meditation for intentions, we have to keep it more general so we don't get into the xenome effect where we fix it and lock it into a certain way. And you guys know all about that because you've been on these shows for a year now, and you know to put your personal intentions down in the live chat. And everybody, there's such a loving community here, and it's full of healers, natural energy workers, and professional energy workers too. And they will work on your personal requests in the chat.
Definitely. And then that keeps the video where we can leave it up because it's more general. And then for right now, we can all focus our intention on New Zealand. Just when we send it out to the world, we can really focus, because that's one of the things Lynn McTaggart teaches is the more focused it is, the better. So For this live broadcast, we'll focus it, and that will send as much as we can. We'll funnel it that direction this time. So.
Great.
All right, so Paulo, it's been a while. It's good to have you on. Okay, so it's Sunday afternoon there right now?
Well, it's Sunday. Yes, it's Sunday morning here, and it's raining quite a lot, which is it's welcome. We had severe drought recently, so it feels like this past week has been a week of cleansing because it's been raining so much.
Nice.
What about forest fires? Has there been a lot of forest fires down there lately? Because every time I look, there's fires everywhere down there. It's like,
not this year, which is great. So we had a few isolated fires, but the worst was in 2003 when we had a fire around here in Sydney that could actually be seen from New Zealand.
Wow.
The smoke was so intense that it could be seen from New Zealand. So it's quite it's quite intense. But this year, thankfully, it wasn't that bad.
We did a general earth healing of fires show or meditation quite a while ago, didn't we? Not that long ago, because of what was happening in California, Paulo. And then people said, stay on, because at 11 p.m., we're just going to imagine rain hitting California. And a lot of us did stay on and joined this bigger group of people sending rain. And then Shane sent me a story the next day that said, California deluge, mudslides due to all the rain they received the next day. And we're like, oops, did we do that?
Look, we got to be more careful with our intentions. This is some powerful stuff here. So,
Yeah, that was crazy. And a few things, actually, we've been doing this almost a year now, I think, in April. And a few things synchronistic like that have been happening that I've noticed.
Yeah.
Okay, here's a synchronicity. Are you guys ready?
Mm-hmm.
How much have we been talking about toroidal fields in this show? right? And
Yes.
now the most brilliant scientist in my book, Nassim Haramein, I don't know if I say his name correctly. He's doing a lot of little 2-minute videos on toroidal fields. Now, I know he's not been watching us, and I know he's not copying us, but I'm like, what a time for him to start coming out and teaching people about the infinite energetic exchange of a toroidal field. I thought that was cool.
And you know what? Paul LeMay, who wrote that book called Primal Mind, Primal Game, he's been around. I'm going to have him on the show, but he's got this diagram that actually looks like two toroidal fields stacked on each other. When he was explaining how when you get down to the picoscale, looking at the DNA strand and all that, how we like actually emit light and we receive the light and all of this. So I can't wait.
At the same time.
And it looks like those, two toroidal fields
kind
of stacked
we should
on top
tell
of each other.
Paulo about that. Spirit Walker. I don't know if we mentioned your channel name, Spirit Walker. This is Spirit Walker. The guy's name is David Lapointe, and he made 3 videos on primal fields. He calls them primal fields, but they're just a double toroidal field. And then he disappeared. Just poof, gone off the face of YouTube.
Those videos, they were absolutely amazing. I mean, the way that he cracked the whole thing, and it makes so much sense that his disappearance is really very suspicious.
Yeah.
But the way that he explained the toroidal fields and how they connect with the shapes of galaxies that no one had been able to explain.
I know. That was amazing. Yeah. I mean, really mind blown, all of us here who watched those videos. We were like, what? Then, Paulo was saying, look at the date on the video, Eileen. And I'm like, I know, it's 2012. Where has this man been since 2012? We don't even know if he's alive or not because we can't find an obituary on him, but we can't find any papers, books, videos, or anything that he's put out since then.
It's amazing.
It's like he was sucked into one of his toroidal fields, like a black hole or something.
You ever wonder if people come to deliver information and then they're out of here and you just maybe they're like higher level beings or whatever and they just get in and out. Now that they can do that, I mean, it used to be like Jesus had to come and had to get a gathering and all this stuff, but now they can just drop some information on us in a video, leave, and work from the outside to spread it around like the way you found it. However it was, I'm sure I find stuff in really synchronistic ways. I'm like, and a lot of times you're like, why is YouTube pushing this to me? But then you can kind of get beyond that and realize that whatever we have helping us out is much more powerful than the YouTube algorithm, and I'll get what I need to get.
Or
so
the
I don't
ruling
even worry
elites.
about that.
Yeah.
Oh, exactly. Yeah.
It always cracks me up when Matt from Quantum of Conscience does a video and then he gets like 300,000 hits and he's in all the YouTube pushing algorithm and he's like, why is my video so popular? I'm starting to doubt my own information because why would YouTube be pushing it? So it's really funny to see him like second guess himself going, now that's suspicious. What I said yesterday is now suspicious.
But you know what? His last video, the one that he was suspicious of again, I was kind of like, I'm laughing because in the video he's talking about the previous one. And while I'm watching it, I'm like, this one's doing better than the previous one that he's talking about. Right. And then I was like kind of suspicious about it. But, it kind of reminded me of a message from Bashar.
I love Bashar. Yeah,
when they were talking, somebody asked them about that stuff they spray in the sky. We won't say what it is, but we know, and they ask, and he says that's the whistleblowers are like the biggest advertisers for what they're doing because they get people like feeling hopeless and defeated and all of that stuff. So while it's a good wake up call, if you linger on it, it actually does the reverse. So it's good to know. The reverse.
So Paulo, I'm going to ask you about this, but let me ask Shane first on that topic. Having SMQ AI, one of my favorite channels when he's on with Chick on Saturdays, he's coming on Monday on your show with Sherry to talk about that CIA document. So now when I talked to you about it, Shane, you said, you know what, that could have the reverse effect as well. There could be like 50% correct information in it and the other 50% incorrect. And it's being released now into the public as kind of a covert secret document. So we get kind of wobbly. We don't know whether we're actually seeing an expose or a planted expose, right? It makes us kind of like doubt everything.
Yeah. That's why I really appreciate that video that I played the week that you were out, when the Wingmakers material was explaining how there's this balance between, as a truth seeker, you're always wanting more information, need an input, you know, that whole idea of, I just got to know, I want to know the truth or whatever. But then there's that balance of being the receiver and transmitter of these higher energies, right? So having that balance between the two, and I'm realizing that I want to have that balance more than I want to seek truth all the time, because everything is so muddied at this point.
You'd rather have the inspiration, the gnosis, because even if that was a lot of planted con-op, turns out to be good. And there's that saying that you always said in the Bible, because you remember these passages, that all things work together for the good of all. So even something that started out for the wrong reason often winds up waking everybody up to a very good ending, right?
Yeah. It's kind of like anything, getting stuck on the wake up call itself. We want to move beyond that to like, what is this waking me up to, you know? And that's, I think, for years I had little wake up calls, but I didn't really wake up, you know, until the Mandela effect. And I was like, oh my gosh, you know. What about you, Paula?
The key example of that is the internet. It started as a military exercise and a military weapon. And now it's helping out the dissemination of information through people all over the world, and bypassing mainstream, mockingbird media.
So what are they going to do? Try to get it back, Paulo? How do they get the cat back in the bag once the cat is out?
That's impossible. That's impossible. So there is a lot of disinformation around being of course, intentionally issued and divulged. The way that I decided to deal with this is that I am happy to be confused. The law of one says that the third density is not a density of knowledge. We are supposed to be kind of searching and being a little bit baffled. And I think that the important thing is to be a lover of the truth. So you're constantly seeking, and that should be your guiding stones. Whether this agency or the other agency said this or that or the other, take everything in context, but don't get too bogged down by it.
I totally agree. Yeah.
It's like the journey is more important than the destination. So the seeking is more important than the information gained while you're seeking.
Yeah, that's what Magenta Pixie said. She says it's the momentum that you create through the seeking process that's more important than the actual information you're trying to gather, because you have to be discerning, of course, but at the end of the day, to know about a lot of these things that people focus on so much, there's nothing you can do about it other than know about it. You can't really go and stop them from doing what they're doing up there, or charge a specific building. I'm trying not to trigger anything. You can't bum rush a building and change anything. You can't really, you can maybe sign petitions and hold up, picket signs and things like that. But I think there's a higher way of approaching this whole thing. And that's the distraction. I don't think the dark knows. I think the dark knows they can't win, but they can keep us distracted long enough that we're not, making any headway. And I think it's more of a distraction than they're trying to win. I know they know they can't win, but they can keep us distracted, right?
They can extend the period that they're in control and delay the time that we actually get into a cooperative system.
Yeah. Well, so the objective is of the negatives is no longer to try to win the planet anymore, but it's trying to take people away from fourth density ascension, fourth density positive ascension, as many as possible. So it's like, one of those naughty kids that if I can't play, then no one's going to play with this toy.
It's totally like that.
It's that type. behavior.
I think they do it through fear. I'm not saying that the F word, which is not the word you might think it is, you know, the F word we're talking about, right? I'm not saying that's what that is. I'm just saying that fear is injected constantly here, there, and everywhere. And when people really start to relax and come together and unite and feel like a cohesive humanity, boom, we get hit with it again, you know, and we're at a stage now where I'm not like bragging. I'm just saying we're strong enough in our spirituality and our knowledge of ourselves not to get overtaken by fear. But people who are newer to the game, the fear gets them, you know, it hits them hard. And they start doubting, you know, that feeling of unity and compassion and love and forgiveness that they were feeling.
Yeah, that's exactly. So fear has these double function of derailing what the train that humanity is going, but also it has another function which is food for these guys. You know, it's bad energy. It's astral miasma.
And it gives them a materialistic power that's only good on this plane. They can't take it with them. And that's that if they create enough fear in the group or the masses, then they can put in the control mechanisms like, well, maybe we should limit what goes on the internet, because what goes on the internet can actually lead these people to do what they're doing that's scaring you. And really, the whole purpose is to get the fear going so that the people don't complain when you take away a free internet. They're like, oh, yeah, I'd love to have a free internet. But look what happens when people are allowed to say anything or think anything. Then they go out and do scary things. So I kind of see like this evil cartoon master plan behind these things where they're thinking them out, you know?
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. There is something that David Icke says. I'm not sure if I agree 100%, but he says that the first objective was to create this illusion of a free internet. Then when everybody is hooked into it, then you create the massive organizations such as Facebook and etc. And then you start using these organizations to covertly censor people and what they say, and then this grows, slowly. It's like putting a frog into a slow boil, and at some stage you have 1984, and you don't even know it.
Yeah, and I think like when I see some of these new, I like to think of them as rabbit holes that pop on the scene. Like you got Tartarus, and you've got the mud flood, and you've got all of these interesting things. I'm not saying they're not interesting, but they can pull you in. You can really get stuck on these things for months on end, like trying to I just got to uncover this alternate history I had no idea about, but as soon as you do that, then it's kind of counterintuitive, isn't it? It's like now you've got lost in the rabbit hole for too long, and you weren't doing other things that would have been a little bit more productive. So it's interesting. But at the same time, if you go beyond just observing it, I think it can be harmful, to your own spiritual growth or whatever.
I agree. I got stuck in those holes. I was like, wow, these are fascinating. And then I was only watching videos and reading articles on this stuff. And then I did a mini video on it, like, hey, guys, this is really cool. Check this out. And then Matt commented and said, okay, great, but why? What are we going to get out of this? And I thought, well, wait a minute. If I understand the truth about mud floods and Tartary, what do I gain from that? Does that make a better humanity, a better money system, a better education, a better pharmacy and medicine? I'm like, no, we don't really get anything out of this. So then I shifted my focus back into the present, into the now, where this is where I can make the changes. This is where I can have the impact. And this is where improvements can be made. It's in the now, not in whatever happened at any time behind us.
Right. Yeah, when I saw that, I was like, oh my gosh, a whole brand new history to try to learn. I wasn't done with the one we got. And, it's interesting. Like I said, I don't blame anyone for wanting to look into it. But, I know myself, and I'll get too deep into it. I'll start really trying to dig and research. And then at the end of the day, it's like, wow, it's like, for all I know, they might come up with a whole new rabbit hole here in a month, and it'd be a whole different history with all new information to get stuck in, so.
Like, do you want lies A, or do you want lies Z, or do you want any of the lies in between? Which one do you want,
And that's a good point because that's what I come away from it with. It's like, okay, whether this is true or this is true, we know we've been lied to so many different ways. So I take that away from it, and then get back to the now and try to make change in the now. You know.
So the idea, but you're absolutely right. It's very interesting to try to speculate. You know, what was humanity's real history? You know, what really has happened? You know, since the say, for example, the blowing up of you know, Marduk, Tiamat, that planet, the asteroid belt, and we never hear about that because the powers that be don't want to examine.
Exactly.
And for all we know, we were all inserted here yesterday. Our history might actually go back 24 hours and everything else is invented.
Yes.
If we're a program, and if this is a program, right? I learned that from you, from the portion of the book that's coming out on how you can insert a whole history and a whole past in a video game.
In a video game, that's right. And I used to do that all the time because I was actually quite bad at the games I was playing. So every time there was I was defeated or beaten up by someone, I would stop the game and restart. And what if this is the Mandela effect? You know, what the Mandela effect is, a restart in the simulation. That's absolutely fascinating.
So
Yeah,
I'm sorry. Go on, Shane.
I was just going to say, I often think about it like The Sims, like, you know, like you're playing The Sims, and then from the developer standpoint, that's why I feel like it has to be done from outside of the matrix, so to speak.
Yes.
Is because the developer could pause the game, switch your car from blue to red, just with a few keystrokes, right? So restart the game. You're like, I thought it was red. Then you look at the picture on the wall. Of course, that updated to look red now and everything. Everybody's like, no, it's always been red. And you know, when was it paused and changed? You just never know because you weren't in motion when it happened. I mean, you could be staring right at it and you wouldn't even know, you know? That's
and you could be the developer, Shane, outside of the matrix, making the changes of the color in the car for you inside the matrix. So your higher self could actually have the controls, right?
That's crazy to think about.
That's exactly right. I disagree with these. There are quite a few researchers that think that if we are in a simulation, then it's a simulation by some type of evil being, etc. I don't think that's the case. I think it's at higher self level, helping us in a type of time loop, you know, going back and helping us, which is going to be them in the future, but helping us learn and understand a few things that need to be. That we have to go through.
Yeah, it's experience.
Yeah, that's another theory, though, that you were talking about, Paulo, the time loop theory, where we never get off the loop until we do it right. And when we do it right, we level up, which reminded me of like Mario Brothers. What if that was inserted into the Matrix to teach our children automatically how to understand reincarnation and leveling up? So you're playing your Mario Brothers, you know, and you keep getting killed and they keep giving you a new life. You can have as many lives as you need on a level. They never go, you know, you get 10, 5, 100. And then after you've completed the level and you get it, you understand it, boom, you open up into a whole new world where again, you start to have all these, you know, Mario dies and comes back a million times until you level up again. And I kind of feel like that video game is really teaching children at a young age something extremely spiritual that could have something to do with our existence here.
That's a very interesting point. I never thought of that in that way, but it's exactly what, or it matches what the law of one discussed in terms of the octaves. So you know, you keep coming back and you have different lives and different levels until you get out of the octave, and then, you know, heaven knows what happens, but you're no longer here. So
yeah, I often think of Alan Watts explaining it like, you know, if you're God and you insert yourself into a role on Earth and you do that for 1 billion years, you know, and then you decide, well, you know, it's not very fun remembering who I am and that it's going to end. So then you just take away your memory of it and you go into it with all the fears related to not knowing anything, you know, and that's where we find ourselves, you know.
Yes.
Yeah, think of it that way. I never thought of that, guys. That if we came back here with full knowledge of who we were before, we might be really afraid to do anything. We're like, oh my God, I know what's going to happen. If I do this wrong, I'm going to have to come back. So it would put that fear in you because you knew the process, But then I don't really agree with the people who say this is a prison planet and they were sent here against their will and don't go into the light. If you go into the light, you come back to Earth. I don't really feel this place is a prison. I think we came here to learn.
That's part of the game, though. I feel like if you remember it, it would be just the opposite, though. I feel like if you remember it, it would take all the fun out of it. It's like when you're playing pretend as a kid, and you're like really into it and you're believing your role and stuff. And as we get older, we realize it's just not fun to do that anymore because it's harder for us to really pretend.
Oh yeah,
So
to suspend belief. It's hard to really be Superman
right.
and Lois Lane when you're like, 30, 40 years old. But when you're 7 years old or 5 years old, it's really easy,
Sure
right?
is. You're
That's
like, I
right.
shot you. You're dead. And it's like you get upset if they're not in your world and stuff. So it's funny.
Yeah. So, Dr. Scott Mendelker, I'm a big fan of him. He's a student of the law of one. And he's a psychologist, etc. He says that angels don't have free will, and that is quite interesting because basically he's saying they don't have free will, and the reason is because they can see everything. They can see the consequences of their actions. They have perfect foresight, so they do what's best, not necessarily because they are choosing, but because they can see that that's the only way to go. So it's exactly what you guys are doing. So we kind of need this veil, this lack of knowledge and this lack of foresight to be able to understand that we do have a certain degree of free will, and this free will help us develop in consciousness. And then at a certain stage, free will can be thrown out of the window because we're going to have perfect foresight.
Well, if humanity, just talking about this planet, not the galaxy or the matrix, the universe is, if this planet started to act as a cohesive whole, a healthy system, cooperative, compassionate, fair, just, all those wonderful words that we love, then what would the point of be coming back here? What would that be? Just to experience perfection of humanity? No, you'd probably want to further evolve and further develop and challenge yourself and experience new things. So you'd probably go somewhere else. It's kind of like saying, well, I was born in Disneyland and I'm riding all the rides and eating all the ice cream and the popcorn and the candy, cotton candy for life. That's life on Earth. Well, it's not. It's not this, this fun fair. And if it gets to the point where it's all working beautifully and perfectly, what if people get bored and they're like, oh, I need some new challenges. I can't do this for eternity,
And people think that too. They think, man, it'd be awesome if everything was perfect. But I know just the psychology of gaming, and when they study people, if a game is too easy, people lose interest. They only play the games where they're almost winning, and like every now and then they'll have that defeat or that victory, and then they feel like they had to earn it, they had to work for it, and that's the games that do real well. That's the games that are addictive, like Candy Crush and all of these. You might get through a few levels or whatever. That's why these Facebook games do so well. They're really simple, but
but they're hard.
Yeah, and there's enough of a challenge there. And then, as soon as they add the social element to it, where you say, well, I'm ahead of this person, I'm ahead of this person. Now you've got that competition between all of your friends on Facebook. I mean, it's really just the whole thing, the recipe. It's a recipe for success because it's got the challenge and then it's got the competitions.
Oh, yeah, the
Not only-
rewards. You got to have
Yeah.
the rewards, because if you never win, you'll just go, oh, I'm not playing that. Because I get
Right.
mad, right? It makes me too mad. So they got to throw the rewards in occasionally, right?
Exactly, yeah. And that's
And
how
plus-
it works at the slot machine too,
Don't forget, we're wearing these monkey suits. We're monkey men and monkey women. We might be spirit, but we're also in the atomic structure of the whole history of this planet, even if it's only 24 hours long. Who knows? And they tested chimpanzees. And chimpanzees like to lie, they like to steal, they like to cheat, and they like to gamble. So if you test them with bananas and coins, they will do what is the most fun to do. They won't necessarily do what gets them the most bananas, because they like the element of risk as well. And I was fascinated when I found out that chimpanzees like to gamble. I'm like, really?
Wow.
Wouldn't you rather have the sure banana rather than gambling on 3 bananas? You know?
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
interesting.
So that is the animal already going beyond just survival, and so that is a transition between second density already into a little bit of third density.
Yeah.
And
That's
I
awesome.
just wanted to go back to what you guys were saying in the beginning about the making rain in California, because this is I think that this is fascinating, because this is already fourth density type existence. This is already something that we are not supposed to be doing as third density. So this is already a higher level. So we say Ascension, or when is that going to come, or what's going to be like? Well, it's already happening. It's already
I believe
happening.
that
Yeah.
too. Yep.
Yeah,
And
for sure.
It's slowly, and it's something that is it's going to be a gradual shift. And some people are already operating at that fourth density level. This is just brilliant.
Shane, we were talking about that. We didn't do a show on it yet. We were talking about the fact that we are experiencing and seeing things that would be attributed to avatars, and people are contacting us with their experiences that would be attributed to avatars, like controlling weather, like dissipating clouds, dissipating chemtrails, slowing the wind down when it's getting really, really dangerously stormy. Do you know what I mean? We've been getting information about avatar-like activities in our, and this is not an ego thing, in the awakened group. It seems to be happening to people who are awake.
Well, I think anybody can do it. It's just nobody tries, or if they do and they see results, they don't share it because it's kind of weird. But I was talking to you about how I steamed up my bathroom, and I was using my intentions to make the steam whirl different directions, like a clockwise, counterclockwise, roll this way, and I just was blown away at how we can really affect that stuff. And I kept trying it over and over different ways, and I've cleared out clouds in front of the moon and things like this that seem impossible, but you do it over and over again, and you keep doing it, and you're like, how many times do I have to do this before I realize
possible.
I'm really, that we're really doing it? And then then you explained that you were doing that too, and I was like, oh my gosh,
I was like clearing clouds since I was a kid, because we read Illusions, Richard Bach from Jonathan Livingston Seagull, and we all sat down, and my family would pick a cloud each, and then we would all concentrate on our own cloud and see who could make their cloud disappear first. So I grew up with this stuff, and like I'd be racing my nephew, and I'm like trying to bust my cloud quicker than he busts his cloud. And I tried to move, I like stuck a pendulum of a rock in a doorway on like sticky tack, blue, white tack. That is so much harder to move than steam. I'm going to move to steam, because that's like a hard rock item, but eventually you can actually get it to start swinging just by looking at it and telling it to. It takes like 10, 15, 20 minutes of unbroken concentration.
The steam really was hard. Like within a second or two, it starts responding to what you're trying to do. I mean, I was amazed. And
I'm going to do steam. Steam sounds like fun. It's light, it's airy, it's like wavy.
Yep, and it's just little particles, so it doesn't take much of anything. And that's why clouds work so well too. They're way up there, but distance.
Just tiny particles of water.
Yeah. And it works. I
How about you, Paulo? You got
out.
any things you've been Shane and I found out we're both experimenting separately. Do you experiment on moving matter?
Well, not necessarily on moving matter, but what I've been doing, and this is actually in the book, is that I've been out of boredom. I decided to predict which lift which elevator would open in my at my work. So I would just go to the lift lobby, and there's 6 lifts or elevators, and I would try to concentrate and pick which one is going to come. And when you concentrate and you do this over and over again, you start realizing that you can do it, and you can predict it. And I get so excited because this is already fourth density. It's not human.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
just not.
I have a
Not
funny
human.
story, and I'm going to ask your opinion on this because Paulo is really well versed in quantum science. So, based on what you just said, when I was about 12, we went to the fun fair that travels around, with the most dangerous rides because they're not regulated. And there was this big table with colored flags and holes. And they'd spin the table around, and then they'd take a poor little mouse, and you'd have to you had the colors in front of you, and you put your quarter on a color. And then they take this poor mouse and put it in the center of this massive table, and it would run around all dizzy and go in a hole in a colored flag. And
Wow.
if your quarter was on the right color, they gave you $1. Okay, because there might have been 12 colors on the table. So you only had a 1 in 12 chance, which is not really good, right?
Yeah.
So I was standing there, no money, and 2 friends were with me, and I go, blue, mouse runs in blue. I'm like, oh, red, mouse runs in red, yellow. And I did that 100% correct 10 times because I didn't care. I didn't have any money. And they're like, we're going to go get money. And we run home and we get all these quarters and we go back, and I get it wrong every time. We put our money down and I'm like yellow and it goes in red. And then we put our money down and I go blue and it goes in purple. And I'm like, why did the universe shift on me like that? When it didn't matter and I didn't have any money, I could pick every outcome. But when it really mattered and I had money riding on my decision, I got it wrong every time.
Yeah, exactly.
What's that? What's the quantum world doing to me there?
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's the quantum world. I would suspect that this is almost like a right brain, left brain type of situation. So before, when you didn't have any stake, you were really just bored, or you just concentrating on something else, and that was your intuitive brain that was working. So the right side of your brain, if you are right-handed.
I am.
Now, and that is the brain that has access to the unconscious. That is the side of the brain that has access to the, according to Jung, to the superconscious, to the greater field of consciousness. Then when you went back home, got money, and you placed a bet, that then becomes a conscious exercise. So now you're consciously focusing on the money, on how much you have to win and what are your chances of losing. When you shifted from the right brain to the left brain, you lost the capacity to predict.
Completely.
Because
we lost all our money. They were very sad 12-year-olds.
Well, an interesting study I saw with, to get back to chimpanzees or whatever, you said they like to gamble, but there was one study that really surprised me, and it was they had it where there were 2 lights, a red and a green, that would flash. The green would flash 70% of the time, and the red would flash 30% of the time. Where a human would go in there and play the game, and you get a treat if you guess right, you get a treat. So the humans would try to predict what it was going to be, where the monkeys would actually just bet on green every time, because they knew that was their greatest percentage. They could tell that it was coming up 70% of the time, or 7 out of 10 times it was green, so they just did green every time. Where the humans, wanted to work with their intuition and try to figure it out, try to predict it, to get a better odd than the 70% odd odds that you would get if you just went with green. But they end up doing much worse because they think it's going to be green or red, and they switch it up. So I thought that was interesting.
That is very interesting, because when I do the cards, the predicting of the colors of the cards or the suit. So colors, it's 50-50, and a suit, it's 1 in 4.
Yes.
If I do it on my own, I can get really accurate. And then if I do it in front of someone to demonstrate to them, I go back to chance. I find it really hard to do things in front of people.
Exactly. Because now you're operating from your rational brain. So you're saying, I need to show this person, I need to prove to this person, and so that breaks the link that breaks the link with your intuition.
So we have monkey brain that just wants to take the odds, and then we have this higher level brain that wants to beat the odds, that wants to be in charge of the odds, right? We're kind of we're an interesting animal.
Being in charge of the odds, that you hit the nail on the head there, because it's control. Your rational brain wants to control the situation, and whereas your subconscious, it's happy just to perceive and to be part of the whole thing.
So if I bring somebody in the bathroom with me to show them the way I can move the steam around, it won't work?
It might not. It depends on who you bring in. If you really trust them, it might not make a difference at all. And if you feel like they might ridicule you, it might pop you into your conscious left brain. And then you'll struggle to change the steam direction.
That's right. And the other thing as well is that if you're trying to show one of these, quote unquote powers to someone that is a skeptic, basically what you would be doing is you would be infringing on that person's right not to believe this type of ability or power. So then that becomes almost like a karmic thing as well. So there are Buddhist monks that have been expelled from the Sangha because they showed that they
levitating and stuff. Yeah,
they showed levitating. They showed cities. So it's thought to be a big stuff up.
But that gives me hope. When I see a monk like levitating, I'm like, yes, we can do this. So some people get a boost from it, while other people, it might just totally freak out their
I think
reality.
It depends on the medium, though, doesn't it? Because if you're watching a video, then you could think it's a camera trick. So I think you can maybe bypass that, because then you're like, oh, they're probably just doing some kind of trick or whatever. But you can even see the one guy that was able to use the chi power to like catch paper on fire and to stick chopstick through the table.
I didn't know if that was real or not. You guys think that's real?
Yeah, because he went to stick it through it and it splintered and cut his hand. It was like instant karma, you know what I mean? Because he shouldn't have been showing off,
Well, Vanessa Vaugh has a super cool video out today. And gosh, I wish we could have had her on. We got to get her on. We got to get the four of us on sometime. And it's a Sufi. I don't know if you guys have studied Sufism, but it's really gentle Islam. It's very mystical. It's mystical Islam. Right? It's very, men and women are dualistic equals of the same energy, and all races are important to humanity. So it has some really, really mystical components to it, but it's still Abrahamic, which, that's Christianity, Judaism, and Islam, which means we have a forceful, vengeful, jealous God, a God who punishes and rewards. So the cool video that Vanessa put on is this head of the American Sufi Association is saying, hey guys, the Mandela effect is real. It is happening. And he's a very important person, in terms of authoritative structure, to actually come out and say that. But then later in the video, he goes into somebody's out there going back in time with evil intentions, messing everything up. That the Mandela effect is bad. Right? It's bad. Yeah, it's bad because it's going to change your beliefs in your Bible. And I thought, darn, I wish he just stuck to the mystical. Yes, these changes are happening, but it's because the fake matrix needs to come down so that we can understand the real matrix, the real reality. We have to get past the fake reality first, right?
Yeah. Wow, that's amazing, because I would really not imagine that established religious people would come out and say that the Mandela effect is real.
I know. That's why it's a very important video. She gets some gems. She really does.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. But then he went into the fear that it's someone or something doing it for a bad reason. You know what I mean? So, and I have no right to judge him because he could be right. I just don't share the fear. Yeah. I don't see the Mandela effect as a negative or bad thing.
Yeah.
I'm thankful it's brought all of us together in a way that I don't see happening. I guess it could have happened a completely different way, but I see it as a positive for me. And of course, it freaks you out at first when you see it happening, because, well, for me, it was like way off of what I thought was even possible. So that's what made it a wake-up call for me too, though,
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if we're in the minority or the majority. Do most people who have seen the Mandela effect for a couple of years, do they still feel fear? Or are they like, hey, it's been around and I'm still alive and the world is still here and things have been changing for 2 or 3 years? So do they get used to it?
I don't
That's
know.
a very interesting question. That's a very interesting question. I think you end up putting that in the back of your mind a little bit. But people that have freaked out, my suspicion is that they have freaked out not necessarily because of a possible cause of the Mandela effect, but because of these, the possibility that they could be going mad.
Good point.
I mean, that's pretty strong. It's a very strong. If you don't have any support, from other people on the internet, they are experiencing the same thing. You could very well think you're going crazy.
That's
Some
a
people just
very
turtle back in because, like, I can just, the look on my wife's face when she saw the JFK car with 6 occupants in there was priceless.
what you do. She was like,
Yeah, her eyes got so big, and she, I knew she remembered because we watched all these documentaries together, and there was just no doubt about it. It's just one of those things that you can't misremember. It's if you remembered 4 people in the car and 1 woman in the car, and then all of a sudden there's this whole extra row, and it's like it was like a
Yeah,
different reality. It's a trip when you see that, and it kind of made her turtle up a little bit because it was just a little too much in the brain to see something like that and know
yeah,
that I remember it this way. And
yeah,
now, that's a trip, It's not like a label where you can still kind of put it off. Maybe it was Febreze the other way. Am I
yeah, maybe
really
it was
sure?
Jiffy.
And yeah,
And it doesn't matter whether it was
there's
Jiffy or
no way
Jiff.
to like kind of think you messed that up. If you really remember there being 4 people in the car and now you see 6 and it's in color and then it's completely different, it's like I'm in a different world. This isn't the world I grew up in. It's really a mind trip.
I guess I was really lucky because I grew up in a mad family. I grew up in the wacky family, and all my friends knew that. And it made me a little wacky, but they tolerated me. They were like very normal, and they're like, "Oh, that's okay. Eileen's family's crazy, but she's only a little crazy." So they tolerate me, but I grew up in a family like that was just so different, was always looking for aliens, always reading about walk-ins, was trying to bust up clouds with their minds and practice telepathy, mental telepathy, and just like read all the Monroe Institute information because he was a journalist. He was a great, fun, paranormal journalist who came up with some really interesting information. So did Edgar Cayce. Read all the Edgar Cayce books. Just because my mom was wackadoodle, like she was a health nut in the 70s. Like she would drive long distances to get organic bread in a tiny little shop that charged her like $6 a loaf when bread was 30 cents, and just down the street. She was always pushing her envelope. And I
yeah,
was raised that way. I was raised not being very normal. So the Mandela effect was like, you took long enough. Why did you wait this long,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's brilliant. And just one thing on the Mandela effect is that because we created this support group on the internet from people from all over the planet, and kind of together we have established this is not madness, this is not mass hallucination, this is something real, this is happening. We may not know the causes, etc., but we experience it together. So it's a collective exercise. And again, that's another characteristic of fourth density humanity. It's the sharing of the mind, or sharing of of consciousness. It's being very comfortable with the idea of okay, we share just one thought or one field of thinking. So that's yet another example of ascension.
So you
And
think
Another,
is
maybe
that
we've moved up a little in ascension, but not being egotistical and saying we're better than everybody else, but we're at a different level? Is that what you're saying, Spirit Walker? That we're at a different level of ascension?
I think that we are already experiencing it, and it's slowly, it's step by step, and we are having the first taste of what will it be to live in fourth density positive.
Sort of
And
like frequencies in a radio or something, and it's like I
yes,
think that's why we have dual memories a lot of times. It's like, well, I
yes,
remember both ways because we're sort of picking up on two different stations, right?
yeah. We're starting to overlap. So
Yeah,
the two levels of beingness, they're starting to overlap a little bit, and it's a hell of a ride.
yeah, no
You know,
kidding.
if you have if you don't know what's happening, you could go crazy. But if you have an idea about any spirituality in you, and you know that this is something that is pointing towards a transition, then it's brilliant to be here.
Yeah, it's a fun time to be alive. Once you can get over the shock of it, it's like we're in a sci-fi movie, right?
Yeah, it is
Yeah.
fun. It's interesting. We don't know what's going to change next, you know?
Life was getting boring right before all of this happened, so I'm like really thankful because
It was
yeah,
getting
it's
negative too. Jamie said that recently. He's like, God, before I got really into this group and this Mandela effect, it was like the world was always ending. It was always, climate change and masses of plastics floating and everybody was feeling like, wow, this is the end. And now nobody feels that way anymore. We feel like it's the beginning.
What do you
Yeah.
feel like, Paulo, with the JFK? Do you remember 6 always, or do you remember 4 being in the car? Because
Um,
someone's asking your opinion on that.
yeah, I remember 4
Oh, okay. In
and
black and white too on the
black
Zapruder
and white.
film.
Yeah, I remember 4 and black and white, no colors, and that was something that hit me quite hard. If you excuse the pun,
Yeah.
when I saw the big 6-seater, that was really strange to me.
Yeah,
That
that
was
was probably my strangest one. I have to admit. I mean, the thinker was
Pretty
really
strange
weird
too.
because, but I didn't believe it at first. Was the thing. You have to believe the JFK thing when you see it because it's like I don't know. It's like you couldn't even like reproduce that really. I don't feel like it's not like I don't know. It was the same thing but different, With the thinker, I'm like, oh well, they must have made a replica of it that's slightly different. And then I searched around, so it was a slower process. That hit me like all at one time with the JFK thing. There was really no searching around. I did search around, but of course I didn't find any 4-seater stuff.
But
actually just
but seeing the 6-seater, Shane and Paulo, didn't that make you think immediately, oh my God, I'm not on planet Earth anymore. I'm in a different place. But now, years later, I feel like we are in the same place, but everything's shifting around us, but we're not really going anywhere. But at first, I got people saying, I've jumped across the universe. I'm now in a different dimension. And they think every time there's a change, they're jumping to a new place. But I don't think that anymore. I don't think we're jumping anywhere. I think it's all shifting around us. What do you two think?
that's the impression that I have as well. That we are shifting, things are shifting around us, and it's all just a construct that we are starting to influence this construct with our minds.
You think it's
Um,
holographic?
yes, something like that. And something very strange happened the other day. I was watching a documentary called Lockerbie with my wife.
Scotland.
Yeah, about Scotland, about the jumble, the Pan Am jumble.
Pan Am. It ended the company. The company never flew after that.
Yeah, exactly. And the narrator was saying that one of the people that were scheduled, they were in London and was scheduled to take that flight was Cattrall, Jerry Cattrall, what's her name? And then he said, well, she was going to take that flight, and it was way before she became famous with the sitcom
Sex in the City.
Sex in the City. He actually said Sex in the City. And then I
That's
jumped
another
off.
connection. Yeah.
Yeah, I jumped off the couch and said Sex in the City, and then to my wife, because she doesn't believe in the Mandela effect. And I said, look, the guy just said Sex in the City. Now go to the internet and go look for the name of the sitcom. What the name is now. And
of course, what people don't know is that that's the one that woke you up. That's the one that hit you into the Mandela effect. So it was important to you.
Yeah, and now it's, apparently it has always been sex and the city.
To me, that's definitely a 100% one. I didn't even watch the show, but it was hard not to see all of the publicity it got, standing in line at the grocery store, seeing different stars in the cover, Sex and the City. And to me, Sex and the City and Sex and the City are, I know they sound similar, but in my mind, they're stored in two different, completely different, lines of thinking in those two titles. They're completely different to me.
Yeah.
Sex in the City and Sex and the City. That's like, it's like you've got a pair of things now where before it was something inside of something before.
Yes.
So it's different the way my brain sees it. I don't even, it's not a sound thing or a word thing. It's really like how you picture it.
Yeah, it's not like Yanni and Laurel and all that. Right. No. Well, I just saw something, you're talking synchronicities there, and somehow it had to do with Tom Hanks and Sally Field again. And I thought, God, I got to send this to Paulo and Shane and Vanessa, but I didn't. I got on with my day. And I thought, why are certain people so tied to Mandela effects more than anybody else? And they keep getting tied to them somehow.
You mean like Tom Hanks, the way he's in so many different ones?
Yeah, so many. And then it came up again on something small.
Sally Field.
Yeah. Yeah. Why are those two constantly popping up in a lot of Mandela effects? So you're right, Paulo. I think there's a lot more connections than we know about. Like gaming, programming. Like, were these people programmed into this since their birth,
Yeah. Or are they non-character players?
I knew you were going to say that. I knew. NPCs.
I don't know if people subscribe to that, but it's
then they're triggers. They're there to be triggers, right?
Yeah, that's an interesting idea.
Well, I always feel like most people are here to learn. Like, everybody's got a soul, but maybe not everybody. Maybe some are just triggers, program triggers.
I think my personal opinion is I think they exist, but I also think they're like portals. So you can't, like, if you think you figured out that somebody's an NPC, they might not be tomorrow. A soul could enter them and they could take over, or someone that is real can be taken away out of it and they can sort of be left on autopilot, or someone else can come in and swap out, like the whole walk-in idea. So I really view it like these are suits. These are human
soul
instruments,
suits, avatars.
And I also feel like for the NPCs, I feel like, at any point an angel can hop in one, do something that needs to be done to maybe save a life or do something like that, and then hop back out. So they're like this portal, like walking portals to be used for the game, you know what I mean? And they can at any moment be taken over by the Matrix or by a higher source to save a life or to accomplish something that needs to be, to make an adjustment, any of this stuff. So I don't feel like we can you have to treat everybody with love and respect. And I think it's a slippery slope to the whole NPC thing, because people can tend to think that, well, they're not real, we don't have to treat them the same. No, you've got to, they're the secret shoppers. So on that level, you've got to treat everybody the same. Even if you think you figured it out, they've still got to be treated, because that's part of the game,
That's right.
Fascinating. Have you guys ever taken it as far to wonder about your own ego, whether you're part of the game or whether you exist? Have you guys contemplated your soul?
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I think that's one of the ways that the Cosmic Agency says that anybody who ponders that thought isn't an NPC.
He's real.
Right.
Ooh, I'm real.
And that's funny because people in the chat now are like, oh, I've never thought that, but you're thinking it now, so you're good.
You're thinking it now. We've triggered you. We've got you going, am I real? I even do this. Okay, this is how silly. When we were talking about whether this doesn't exist unless you're looking at it, I'm like, trying to look really fast, like camera fast, I'm like, catch it breaking up, Have you guys tried that? Seriously?
Yeah.
You have.
So I had doubts as well, but back then I just thought I was going crazy, so I just left it. But now I know what it was.
Maybe finding this group made us feel not crazy. Maybe that was the gift in finding the group.
It was a gift for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To go,
That's
hey,
right.
I'm not alone. These guys are crazy too. They're crazier than me. I'm happy now.
But in a
Yeah.
way, don't you feel like you could have been inserted into this body like 2 years ago, even, and like everything before that was just this written background that was placed to make you feel like you lived the life into this point, and maybe we just
Every time
arrived.
I
Have you
see a
thought of that?
movie like that where this poor android isn't human and they've given them a memory, and I'm like, oh, you poor thing, you thought you were real. And I'm like, what if that's me? What if I've been given this memory and none of it's real, you know? And I'm like,
Yeah.
well, then I don't care because it's fun being here. So I don't know how to look at these things anymore because sometimes I don't think they're so bad anymore. I'm like, okay, if you inserted me and my history yesterday, this is fun. I'm staying. Thank you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's all about perspective, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I like the idea of NPCs possibly being biological portals or biological suits. That's thanks, Shane. That's something
That's
I hadn't.
cool.
Yeah, I hadn't
Well, have you
really.
ever wondered that? And I think even the people like that aren't NPCs can be used that same way. So we might have you had somebody say like, when you told me blah blah blah, that really had this huge effect, and you might not even remember saying it, or you just kind of said it in passing. You're like, why
Mhm.
did I say that? But yet it had this huge impact on somebody. And I think it can work the other way too. Like somebody can say something that triggers you, and maybe they didn't mean to trigger you, but maybe it's something you needed to work on. Like the Law of One talks about these catalysts that move us, you know, keeps us from being so in the middle. It polarizes us. You can take it
That's
as
right. That's right.
positive or negative. Yeah.
And maybe we're the catalyst here on YouTube for other people that we haven't seen yet, that don't even go into the chats, that we don't even know they're there. We don't even know they're watching this. And maybe it's triggering something in them that will hopefully have a positive effect.
Not always. If you read the comments, you can see.
We've not, I'm afraid to say it, okay? We have not been hit by trolls in ages. I don't know why. I'm like, okay, this is great. So I don't want to say that, but it's like suddenly we're being left alone. And for a while there, we were hit really hard, you know?
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's
So
like, how
there
do
is,
they come and go in waves?
yeah. It's weird. So it could be, the whole thing could be just orchestrated,
Mm.
just planned and orchestrated.
It seems that way, doesn't it? It sure
And
does
Yeah,
seem that way.
I had a really popular, I don't have a lot of popular movies. I'm not big. I'm small movies. Listen to me, videos. And I had a really popular one on movie residue for the Volkswagen in the Tom Cruise movie,
it's
Vanilla Sky. And on the end of it, I was just talking about spirit and NPCs and, what we're talking about now. And for the longest time, it used to trend on just the normal Mandela residue. And I just looked at it recently and it's gone. It's literally gone from everything. And what's trending is like half of the views that I've got. So I've actually physically been removed from trending lists because the whole message is not about the movie. It's not about the Mandela effect. It's about caring and loving and cooperating with people, even if you don't know if they're NPCs or not, you know? And it took about 6 months to remove that. So that I think is not being caught by bots. I think that's people just going through and kind of burying the stuff that empowers people while raising up the stuff that doesn't empower people because it makes them feel fearful. And then they put them on all these lists and everybody gets hit. You put on a video and then you get the suggested videos. Well, they're never going to be mine, that's for sure.
yeah. This is happening with some of my videos as well. That sometimes it feels like they fell off a cliff.
Disappeared. And Shane, sorry, I didn't want to tell you that, but Shane, you used to have a lot of trending videos, and now because you're so positive and the effect is so positive, it seems like you've fallen off some of those lists too.
Yeah, I think the last one I got that was good was the slaughter bots drone video. And it wasn't like to be scary, but oh yeah, let's push this stuff out there. There's a scary stuff, and I was just really talking about the development of it. But I guess it could be considered scary. It had scary titles in it, and you have that kind of stuff in there, and they push that. I think that's at like 150,000 views, but not the one about loving and stuff.
So I guess we find each other and we're heard by the people we're supposed to be heard by. We're seen by the people who are supposed to see us. And we're not supposed to be in the algorithms. We're in a different algorithm.
Yeah, I'm not worried about it anymore. I just trickle up and trickle down. It's funny because you can look at my thing and I'm just hovering around zero. I think I'm going up like 90 something a month now, which isn't even 1,000 a year, and I was going like 500 or 600 a month. So,
Yeah,
you know,
I know.
several a day. So it's like, you know, a
And
lot
I
of it
used
for
to
me
go
is
up
losing
90 a
them.
month, and now I'm going up like 0 a month. So
Yeah.
your graph affects me too. We got the same graph, but just different numbers. And
Yeah.
probably you too, Paulo.
That's exactly. That's the same story here.
Yeah, they implemented something new, but you know, at the same time, I had done that one video about Ariana Grande when that thing had happened a couple of years ago, and I went up really fast. I mean, that was right in the very beginning, and I was going up hundreds of subscribers a day, and you know, I can honestly say, you know, a lot of the comments in there, it wasn't a good
It was a
experience. You
good
know,
thing, was that
we're
you
getting
removed
good
that one.
subscribers. Yeah, yeah, I removed it just because I didn't want. I'd seen where they were banning channels for old videos, and I
Oh yeah.
thought, you know, the
Yeah.
things I talked about in there, I'm just pulling it off of there. I'm not giving them any excuse to get me on something that's 2 years old. You know what I mean? And I got Diane out of it though, so that's a blessing.
Yeah.
Diane from across the pond there. She was in the chat earlier. I don't know if she's still here, but that's
Oh,
my
hi,
silver
Diane.
lining.
Yeah, we email
Diane, yeah.
occasionally,
Diane
sending you
Griffith.
love and your family.
So, yeah, you just take what you get, and the subscribers I get are great. It's not, I don't have to worry about trolls. When I put
It's like
that
they're
Ariana,
real. They really care and they really want to hear what you have to say
yeah,
because how they found you, God only knows, right? Because you're
Exactly.
not trending on any of these lists.
Yeah.
right.
And it's just something that it was meant to be. One of the things, one of the things that I read about, I can't remember on. Well, it was about abductions, and most of the abductions are negative. Most of the ET abductions are negative. And someone asked a question: Why don't positive ETs abduct people as well? Well, first of all, it's an infringement, and secondly, positive ETs would talk to you higher self to higher self. There is no need to abduct, so they are already connected at a higher level. So this goes back to what we're discussing here. People that are watching our videos are probably talking to us higher self to higher self. There is no need to advertise. They would find the videos, they would find the content, and they would take a lot out of that anyway.
Yeah, I've been noticing that too.
I've had the opposite experience, Paulo, but we've never even talked about that. Shane and I have a little bit, in that the people who seem to have genuine abduction proof, like marks on their bodies, the booms, things like that, where their family finds them in different positions, different places, maybe with mud and grass in the bed, they seem to have a positive experience.
Okay.
So I'm wondering if the PSYOP is true and if the military's abducting people, like faking abductions and scaring people and making it a really uncomfortable experience. So they come back going, oh my God, I was like, thrown on a table and lights were on and I got, some people say bruises and marks, so they were handled roughly. And I don't know what to think about that because the people I know in my family, because we have a whole family of it and it's 3 generations, have only had positive experiences. And then other people go, well, it was positive, but I was scared because I was out of control. Therefore, I determined it was negative. But really nothing bad happened. Nothing.
Well, Misha, the one we had on a few Mondays ago, Misha Johnston explained how she had been taken by both factions, our own and otherworldly, and it was only our own that she had the bad experience with. So I can imagine that,
Oh, I wonder if
it's
that's kind of
depends who
going
you,
on too. Yeah.
definitely, yeah, depends
Because
on who
think
you're
about it,
taken by.
if our ruling elite are afraid that someday there will be alien intervention, because I do know that it's hands off with this prime directive thing that we call it from Star Trek. The funny thing about the guy Roddenberry who wrote Star Trek was he was part of Majestic 12. He was in with the guys who were supposedly at the top level of all this, and then he writes this TV show which is all fun and crazy and exaggerated, really. But there was supposed to be a lot of truth in it, apparently. I don't know. That could be a psyop too, right? They could be making that up. But the whole point is they wouldn't want you to welcome ETs with open arms. If they suddenly came down and made mass contact, they wouldn't want us running to them going, "Thank you, about time," you know?
Yeah, exactly. So they have to create that atmosphere of fear.
Yeah, so they might be the negatives as well, instead of negatives, real ones. You know, I don't know. I have no idea. I'm not making a statement on this. I'm just pondering.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, but if you think about all the Hollywood movies and everything, everything's geared towards fear, you know.
So, like my sister, she was a bit fearful about it. And when I asked her, "Well, why? What happened?" And she's like, "Well, nothing." "Well, then why are you afraid?" Because I didn't have the say so. And I'm like, I gotcha. It's that fear of being out of control.
Yeah.
Yeah, taken against your will.
She abducted?
What's that?
What was she abducted?
Yeah, I did a video on it, which was my outing, which was a big deal for me because I would never tell people about this about me, partly of why I might be a little bit out there and strange and woo-woo sometimes, is I come from 3 generations of the women being abducted regularly. And then people contacted me after that video, and Shane put people over to me, and they would talk to me about the sounds that their family experienced, which are quite classic, that are not mentioned in ET sagas. And that is that when they come and when they go, they make a massive sonic boom in the house that will wake up people in the house, wake up neighbors, often like topple food out of refrigerators, knock vases off of tables. And that's the part that's always left out. So when anybody is doing a video and they're saying, "I was abducted," and then they go, "There was this massive boom," I'm like, yeah, they're telling the truth, you know,
Wow.
because that's the missing link in most of those videos.
Wow.
Yeah.
I saw a video that you had a few months ago about it was a cigar-shaped UFO over Florida.
Yeah, I don't even know what that was. Shane helped me slow it down and blow it up, and so did GPK. But it looked like a banner. It looked like a rectangle, didn't it? And flat, but it was waving in and out of existence. It would wave out, and then it would wave in.
Yeah, phasing in and out of this reality.
So what do you guys think that was? I'm still on the fence with that one, and it's my own video.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It did look like, it's just so hard to tell. You know, there was no sound, but was it far enough away that I don't know. Yeah,
Do
I'm
you
on the
think it
fence
was
with
like
too.
Project Bluebeam, that was like on the side of a giant triangle and they were just turning the plasma beams on and off?
See, I kind of felt like it could be the side of a really tall triangle, so it looked
Yeah.
square from the side, but maybe
Yeah.
it was a big, you know. I
What
don't
about you,
know.
Paula? What did you think? Did you get a good look at it and go, could you figure out what it was?
Well, yeah, it to me it felt, or it looked like a bit of a cigar-shaped craft, those phasing in and out. But whether that was Project Bluebeam, then I can't tell.
Do you guys want to know something? That image was seen all over the world for a couple of months at the time that I caught it. And now it seems to have disappeared. And some people in the UFO community say that's because the cigar-shaped craft were making their presence known, and now they've stopped. It was like we were being like, small doses, like you said, cook the frog slowly.
Yeah.
They were just getting us used to it, and then they stopped.
Little
Wow.
snippets of disclosure.
Yeah, little snippets of disclosure. But then again, it could be this Project Bluebeam, because I live near the Everglades, like right on top of the Everglades, and there is a big Air Force base there. In fact, that's where they supposedly took the bodies from 51 to the Air Force base right outside of Miami, where like President Eisenhower showed the bodies of the dead ETs from Roswell to Jackie Gleason. That's the big conspiracy story. And that on his deathbed, he came out and told people, yeah, aliens are real because I saw them, So that's a kind of cool story. But in reality, I see these massive black triangles at least once a year flying at night. So they're ours and they're here. So could they be turning on these little plasma shows for us? I don't know.
Yeah, it's very possible. It's very possible. the black triangles are TR3Bs.
Yeah, that's
So,
what MUFON says. MUFON calls them TR3Bs and says that they're
yeah.
ours, that they're
So, yeah,
human
okay.
But that was
technology.
much bigger than a TR3B. That's more like the size of a car, and you could tell that was much bigger than that, in my opinion.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty huge, and it was phasing in and out for sure. And the cloud behind it was weird. The cloud behind it had that angle, remember? It had an L.
Yeah, that was strange.
So isn't it nice that we can sit here and talk about these mysteries and not tick each other off, that we don't agree with everything and we don't know what everything is, and we're okay with that? We're like, okay to say, I don't know. What do you think?
Exactly. I gave up trying to trying to
I
understand,
want to know what that was.
understand what's going on. I accepted. Love is acceptance, and I just hope and I know that one day, at some stage, at a higher level, I will go back and I will be able to understand. Okay, oh yeah, that's what that was.
Wouldn't that be nice to
Yeah.
look back on all this and go, ah, that's what it was?
Yeah, I think a lot of us, someone is saying that they were abducted and got healings while they were being abducted. And I heard that before. Some guy that was a smoker had all this black stuff taken out of his lung. Who was that again?
I can't remember, but I've got healings in my video from abductions. You just have to ask for them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have heard of that. And people who say that, I believe that that's probably more of a genuine abduction than a fake PSYOP one by our own government.
Right. She's saying that there was 2 gray beings, but they were her spirit guides. So I don't know.
I'll catch the chat later. I can't wait to see what that experience is. And if you want to email us your experience, that would be super cool, especially for Shane and Sherry's paranormal frequency shows, because we're trying to get people used to the fact that this is a really wacky world we're living in, you know?
Yeah, and we're going to only see it increase in frequency, you know?
Yeah. And get used to it and go, okay, now what? Now try to surprise me.
Yeah.
That's the funny thing about it, though. It's like, for a lot of people, I think they miss it because it's not even possible, you know? If it's not even in your realm of possibility, you won't even see a lot of things. It can be right in front of you, you know? So it's like opening your mind up to this stuff to realize there's so much more going on, and then you'll begin to see it when you're looking for it, you know?
Okay, so I've never thought of that, Shane. You're reversing the aspect and saying if you have an open mind that things are possible, now you can see them instead of, oh, I saw these crazy things and it opened my mind. It's like you're saying it the reverse way too, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense. I think we create our own reality. That's manifestation.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I think so
We're going
too.
to talk about manifestation. Didn't you
We were
say
supposed to the whole night, and we've just had so much fun talking about all this other stuff. We could do manifestation on another video, on another night. We were like, well, okay, let's talk about how to manifest successfully, because I wanted to pick your brain because you're so full of quantum facts. So you get how these little elements come together to create reality. And I was wondering if you had any manifestation tools or hints on how we can manifest quicker and better.
There are a couple of things that I really try to do. So the first of all is visualization. So visualizing what you want to happen. Then another trick or another avenue is to forget about, when you pray, for example, you say, "Please God, help me do that next week," and you're placing a separation between you and your objective. So the way to do this, and that's my favorite or my preferred way, is to say, okay, thank you, because that has already happened. So you're shortening the distance. You're saying, well, that manifestation is here now, and it is already a reality. It may be separated from me in terms of time, but time doesn't exist. Therefore, I can thank the universe already for that for that manifestation. So it's all in the way that you approach what your request, so to speak. So instead of trying to ask for stuff, be thankful that has already happened in your life.
So you're saying gratitude brings it quicker.
Exactly.
And adding feeling to it helps a lot too. So if you really imagine what it feels like to be in that car or that fine restaurant. In fact, they say, like, if you want to go to a fine restaurant, go there and have a cup of coffee or a cappuccino if you can't afford the whole meal, and just really feel what it's like to be in that,
Yes.
restaurant, enjoying a meal there, or, your cup of whatever, that you can afford, and just surround yourself in that environment and really take it in, because that feeling helps with the manifestation. So that you test drive that car you're wanting, or whatever they say. Yeah.
Drive by the neighborhood and imagine yourself in that house as you're like driving by it.
Clunking up in somebody's driveway and pretending it's your house.
So we got the adding the feeling, and Cynthia Sue Larson says that when you add the feeling in the present tense and you remove time, you quantum jump into it. So that brings it quicker.
That's right. Yeah, because when you are praying or visualizing, you're at the mental state, the mental frequency, so to speak. When you very correctly, Shane put that you have to add feeling. What happens is that you're adding your astral, the emotional body, the astral body. So you're actually it's almost like a double whammy. So you're making things happen through basically you're putting everything on the table. So you're putting your mental energy, you're putting your astral energy as well, so through anahata chakra, so your heart chakra, and you're putting your physical as well.
Oh yeah, kinetic energy. So now you got mental energy, emotional energy, and physical kinetic energy, electric, magnetic, kinetic. And can you guys explain this when people say let it go, or they say release it, where you have to stop worrying about it. Once you've asked for it and you've said thank you because I've received this, what happens if you don't let it go? Why is letting go so important on how you get it, when you get it?
I think Cynthia Sue Larson pointed out the whole xenome effect, that if you don't look away from it, you can't let it, manifest into something different. It's like you're observing it in its current state, and you're not allowing the transformation to take place.
Yeah, you're checking it, and going, why isn't it changing? Checking it.
Yeah.
Anything else on a quantum level of why letting go is so important that you've come across with all the quantum information?
I think the letting go aspect of things is because when you are, I don't understand this yet, but if you are constantly thinking about something, it's like you're grounding and you're holding that thought back. And what you want is to kind of release that into the field of consciousness, to make that a reality. So it feels like as long as you are still holding on to that thought, it hasn't become part of the collective yet.
Interesting. Related to what Cynthia said too, and what Shane just said.
Yeah.
Because Abraham Hicks, right?
Mm-hmm.
Always says, let it go, release it. That's like the important part of manifestation, is to ask for it, be grateful for it, act as if you already have it, and then let it go. Just some people say, give it to God to figure out.
I have even heard of certain, rituals. For example, you write things on a piece of paper, you energize it, and then you burn that. You burn the piece of paper, and you let go.
The Roman elite use a lot of this. They use sigil magic, supposedly, and rituals, right? Emotionally charging things and then burning them and letting them go. So this isn't something that isn't already heavily used in this matrix. Yeah.
So there's just one word of caution, is that you have to be aware of the difference between black magic and white magic. So, for example, you may be thinking, okay, I want to manifest a Ferrari in my life. I want to drive a Ferrari. One thing that your higher self may be asking is, why is it important for your spiritual growth that you have a Ferrari? What's the point here? And you may have a point, or you may, most likely, you may not have a point. Maybe that's it will just be a material thing. So a lot of people say that things that you try to manifest for your own
material gain.
Material gain, that is treading very closely to black magic.
And the universe doesn't put its oomph behind it. But when you manifest for the collective good, this is what I've heard, what you're saying. People say the universe gets behind that and pushes it.
Exactly. So you may even be capable of manifesting those things, but if you're delving into black magic, there are consequences. That there will be consequences for it. So why do you want a Ferrari? Why? How is humanity progressing if you have a seaside, beachside house, or all of that type of stuff? So you have to be very careful as to how do you manifest things. It's of course we are material beings, and we need material stuff, of course.
Yeah, we need a house, we need transportation, we need food, we need heat, we need fire, we need energy.
That's right. That's right. But we also need to be aware that we are part of a collective, and it would be nicer if we exercise the power of manifestation for the benefit of the collective.
Which is what we do right here, Power of 8 at 8, every Saturday night for the collective.
Yeah, and I think, also I think there's another element to this, is that we have our higher self that we need to be in alignment with for these manifestations. So, I mean, you might have all the faith in the world for a Ferrari, but if your higher self knows you're going to get it and drive off a cliff because you're going around the corner too fast, it's like, no, you don't need that. Or if winning the lottery, you're going to go hang out on a yacht instead of do your job, that you were meant here to do, then you're going against the higher purpose. That's, I think, gets into that, not my will, but your will be done, this higher understanding of the greater good. Because if we did have that knowledge, like Paula was saying earlier, this divine knowledge, then we would be in alignment. Because, like what you were saying with the angels, they see the whole picture, And if we had that kind of knowledge, we would be in more alignment with the divine, because the divine has the best plan of action for us, and it's sort of having that higher perspective.
We're attached to the divine already, our higher self is, so we can open up and trust our higher selves, and it might not be what our lower selves are craving or asking for.
The ego gets in the way, though,
Yeah, that's right. This community, though, I swear, they're so generous and so kind. They tend to go to the opposite side of that scale. And wouldn't it be great if we could all give away our gifts and our healing techniques for free? But at the end of the day, somebody's got to get you a house, a car, and food on the table. So people sometimes feel guilty saying, okay, I'm a Reiki master, but I don't want to charge for it. But then I don't eat and my children starve. So I find the people in this community tend to be a little overly careful about not servicing their own needs, and they have a physical body. They have that part of their life that still needs addressing. That's right.
Balance is the key. It's the middle way, as Buddha used to say. It's the middle way. If you are, he used to say, so when was a teacher teaching the student to play the guitar. So if the string is too loose, it doesn't play. If it's too tight, it's going to break. So the middle way, the middle path.
The middle path is the best.
The on the fence path. No, I'm just playing.
Now they call it the narrow path. Walking down the fence would be very narrow, Shane. Right in the middle there. They call it the narrow way too.
Yeah, totally. Well, shall we do this? Let me see if I got.
Hey, at least we got to manifestation eventually. I was going to save it for another show. It was a good reason to have you back.
Yeah, we can totally revisit it another time too. This was a blast. Let's see here. I think, is this the right one? I hope it is.
You're playing it. Otherwise, we'll talk over the delay.
Exactly. Let me switch it to where you guys can see what's going on here.
Which one are we doing? Are we doing the meditation?
Yeah, we're gonna do the. Oh, do you want me to show that video? What was that video? Let me
We
see.
can show it on another day. It's Nassim Haramein talking about
Mm-hmm.
true vital fields, everything that we've been doing and talking about for the last month here.
Ah, okay.
But I mean, we can play it another day. But I love seeing these videos from him. They're like 2-minute videos on energy,
Yes.
manifestation, matrix.
So unfortunately, you guys will have to listen. I guess mute your mics and then listen through the channel if you have it on, or because isn't this 11 minutes long? I believe
Yeah,
it is.
it is.
All right. So I will. Let me. I gotta mute myself now. Hold on a second here. Okay, so I guess we'll start this meditation, and you guys, if you want, can mute your mics on the. If you haven't already, I'll do that. Okay, and then I will start this and come back when it's done.
So this is one meditation that I try to do at least once a month. And what you're going to do is you're going to start out and get into a meditative state the best way that you like to, if you are a meditator. And if you're not, you can take a nice, deep, slow breath in now, which is incredibly relaxing for your body as the oxygen spreads to places it doesn't normally get to. You can hold that for a few seconds and then gently exhale. And as you're exhaling, exhale all the stress and any negativity that might be in you or around you. So inhale again, a nice, slow, comfortable, deep breath. Hold for a few seconds and exhale any negativity or discomfort. And we'll do one last breath, a third breath, slowly, deeply filling the bottom of your lungs. Hold it for a few seconds. And finally, exhale all negativity in and around your body. So, in your mind's eye, if you can't see it, you can certainly feel it, hear it, or sense it. Imagine being in a beautiful, peaceful place. Now, this is going to be a place that you can instantly go to when you do a group meditation and want to be relaxed, comfortable, and safe. It could be a beautiful meadow of grass with trees off in the distance. It could be a beautiful, calm forest with lights twinkling through the moving leaves above your head. It could be on the seaside with the white, cool, soft sand on your feet and hearing the water as it hits the shore gently rolling in. Put yourself in a beautiful place where you feel happy and safe. Now, as you breathe in, imagine that you're breathing in through your heart. And as you breathe in through your heart, that energy fills your whole body. And then exhale through your heart. We're going to take a couple of more breaths slowly in through your heart, filling up your entire being, and exhaling again through your heart. Now get into a gentle rhythm of heart breathing in and out of your heart. And as you do so, imagine a light coming in with that breath, in through your heart and back out gently at whatever pace suits you, whatever feels good. That light can be any color you like. The more common colors are green or pink. But if you want to breathe in blue or any other color, please do so now. In through your heart and out through your heart. Now, after this next breath in through your heart, as you exhale the light, you're going to fill a bubble around your body with the color of that light, coming into your heart and out of your heart. And that bubble of light is going to go around you, above your head, below your feet, down around your knees, your shoulders, your face. It's a very comfortable bubble of light. And if you like, you can now make that light grow as you continue to inhale in through your heart and out through your heart. Let that bubble of light fill the room that you're in. And if you're comfortable, let it fill the entire house or apartment or trailer, wherever you are. Let that light fill your entire building with breaths in and out of your heart. And if you're comfortable, let that light expand to absolutely cover your community, your town, your suburb, the area that you live in. And when you're comfortable, let that light cover your state or your region, wherever you are in the world. Let that light cover the entire state, county, principality, region, breathing in through your heart and out through your heart. And when you're comfortable, let that light cover the entire country in which you're currently sitting, laying down, standing, breathing in through your heart and out through your heart. And let the whole country that you're in feel that light that is coming through you and from you, in through your heart and out through your heart. And when you're ready and when you're comfortable, let that light cover the entire earth. Whether you think that earth is round, whether you think that earth is flat, it doesn't matter. Let that light coming in through your heart and out through your heart cover the entire world. Now you are in a protective, loving, healing bubble of light, and the world is also in a protective, loving bubble of light. So imagine that world getting smaller and smaller and smaller until it's about the size of a basketball. Covered in this light, breathing in through your heart and out through your heart. And gently fold your arms around the world and hold it as gently as you would hold a newborn baby while you're breathing in through your heart and out through your heart. And just hold that image. Holding the world in your arms lovingly, protectively, breathing in through your heart, breathing out through your heart. Now that light is completely healing and completely loving, and you can direct it now in any specific way that you would like it to help heal the world that you live on. Or you can just let the light heal the world as it sees fit. Breathing in through your heart, breathing out through your heart. And when you're ready, we're going to gently take our arms away from the world, the earth, and we're going to let the world get bigger and bigger and bigger until we once again are upon the earth, breathing in through our heart and out through our heart. And we're going to thank the world for being here for us. And we're going to thank the universe for giving us such a beautiful world. And we're going to thank God for bringing us and this world together. Breathing in through your heart, breathing out of your heart. And we're going to thank our families, and we're going to thank our friends, and we're going to thank our neighbors for being a part of this amazing experience. breathing in through your heart and breathing out through your heart. And finally, we're going to thank ourselves. You're going to thank yourself and give yourself a big hug with much appreciation and love, breathing in through your heart, breathing out through your heart. And you're going to let that heart energy and that light that you have helped to create heal yourself, your family, your friends, your neighbors, your colleagues at work. In fact, you're going to let that energy and that light that you have helped to create tonight heal the entire world, heal Earth. So now just start taking normal breaths through your lungs, in through your nose and out through your nose or your mouth. Just breathe in normally, in through your nose and out of your nose and your mouth. And start to just shake your fingers and your hands. Wiggle your toes. Start to shake your feet a little bit. Feel the blood circulating. And when we come back, you might actually want to get up and have a nice cold drink of filtered water. And if you need more grounding, you can take a shower or you can eat something like cheese, something strong tasting. And you'll be more grounded. You'll be back here firmly planted with your feet on earth. So you can carry on living your life in matter now that you have experienced living your life in spirit, helping matter, literally helping to heal the world that you share with so many other people.
And that was beautiful. I got chills. All right. Is everyone back? We're all back. Yeah, and I should have reiterated the whole New Zealand thing. I did put it in the chat. Were you able to? Is it still going for you?
I can't hear anybody.
Oh, am I muted? Oh.
Yes.
There we go. Sorry. They could hear me. You couldn't hear me. Sorry.
Oh, okay. This is very complicated.
I had 3 different mute buttons pushed. I didn't undo your mute button for you guys.
I saw your lips moving. I just couldn't hear anything coming out.
Well, this has been a fun time, you guys. Gosh, it's such a fun chat, and it goes so fast, and we could totally do this again.
I don't think we've done it for a year, have we? Has it been a year since we got together, Paulo?
Well, I think, yeah, more than that. It's been more than a year, I think.
Wow.
It went fast.
Yeah.
It went fast.
We won't wait so long next time. We got a book coming out. As soon as we have that out, we'll come back. Hopefully, Vanessa.
Yeah.
That'd be really nice.
Yeah, fingers crossed. It would be great to get the 4 of us.
We're at the end stretch. We took an extra month to add a lot of material to it because things changed, and I think we needed to add that material. You know, we all did. We were like, oh, we need to add a little more because things have changed.
They're constantly changing. We're gonna have like revision A, B, C, probably the new revised edition.
10 years, guys. You can get it in 10 years. I'm just kidding. Cancel, alt, delete. Remove that thought.
Well, we had a scare. We thought maybe part of the book got Mandela affected out of existence, but
I was like, have we been Mandela? Like, is a higher power trying to stop us here? No, of course not. We're getting the boost from the universe that we need to get this out there.
Yeah, totally.
But you guys, it's going to be jam-packed. I mean, because of Paulo and Spirit Walker Channel, it is going to be full of quantum information, which to me is really cool because we all have our own gifts to add to this, right?
Totally.
So that's one aspect that I think is heavily missing from a lot of Mandela effect channels. Like, it's just missing the science that helps you understand this stuff.
Yeah. Here's my grandson. All right, I guess we'll wrap this up, and we'll do it again sometime really soon. Thanks so much, Paulo, for coming on again.
Thanks, guys.
Much love, everybody.
And thank you, Eileen, as always.
you. Peace.
And yeah, so I guess Monday night, we'll be back with Paranormal Frequencies with Sherry and SMQAI. That should be a fun one.
That's going to be a big show because it's about that CIA document drop. It's going to be awesome. Can't wait.
Be a lot of fun. All right. Peace to you guys. Lots of love.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
If you'd like to support the work I do, go to paypal.me/UOTF. Thanks.